All right, so let's go ahead and look at the approval of the meeting minutes, from April 15th, 2026. If you had a chance to review them, fantastic. If not, take a second, and I will take a motion in a second.
I would like to suggest that it says, it refers to Mr. Proctor as the co-chair. Are you a co-chair or a vice chair?
Originally, I was vice chair.
And I also was called co-chair of the ad hoc committee twice, and I feel like I'm the vice chair. So if we could amend those
Okay,
3 places to change co to vice chair, then I would, with that amendment, I would move to approve the meeting minutes from April 15th.
Support.
so Travis and Lisa, any further discussion other than those amendments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, now we are going to move on to public comment. There is a spot to speak publicly here at the beginning of the meeting, and then we will allow that again at the end. For the convenience of time, we do ask that it stays at 3 minutes. So we are opening up to any public comment. And again, if you have more to say, you are more than welcome to come back for the second half as well. So anybody for public comment currently? And I ask that you please state your name and sign in so if we have any follow-up.
I am Nancy Vandervelde. I live out on Collins Road. Some of you went to church with my mother, Barbara Snow. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the master plan. But first, I wanted to talk about the need to get our township documents and information from Art and Dave. I'm not sure where that stands right now. If anyone has requested that information, stated in the Planning Commission bylaws, their public records on page 3, if you look at your bylaws, and then secretary duties on page 2. They're responsible for holding all that documentation. You know it's on their computers, you know it's on their phone. Any communication that they had when they were working for us in the township is township business. That's our property. And we're basically making it very difficult for Carla, the treasurer, to be able to do FOIAs. You know, she can't contact them and get the information from them. There's no FOIA, which is illegal. You know, we have to have that information. So I would recommend that we give them thumb drives and ask them to, you know, take care of downloading their information, give us any paperwork that they have, any, you know, actual documents that they have should be turned into the township. And if they refuse, then we need to talk to the attorneys about it. But we need that information. It's illegal for them to keep it and for us not to have access to it. In the master plan, I understand you've all received a copy of my notes. Those were not meant to be just, you know, fix the master plan by changing the things that I had in all those notes. There's like 35 different statements I made in it. The master plan needs a complete overhaul and review. And it's, you know, there's a lot of good stuff in it. There really is a lot of good stuff in it, but it's not in the correct order. It's not in the right places. It's old information. You know, things need to be updated. And I don't know how many of you actually read the Monroe County Planning Commission's review of it. Have you all seen it? I wanted to make sure you knew that that population growth where they said probably 68 people from 2025 to 2050 is accurate. It's not wrong. If you take in village with it, it's wrong. But just the township is probably pretty accurate. It comes from SEMCOG, which is a group that takes all of the United States Census and does all kinds of information for us. And if you look throughout our master plan and everybody else's master plan in this area, they will, you know, they will say SEMCOG in it. And this is where we got this information, this is where we got this map, this is where we got this data, okay? So a lot of it's gonna be SEMCOG. And I don't think Dundee has a subscription to it, but the Monroe planners do. So if you wanna know exact numbers on something, you wanna know how many acres are farmed in Dundee Township, go to Monroe and ask them for help with this, because they will help us.
That is your 3 minutes, but if you do have more, I do advise you to come back up for the second public comment, please. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. I believe you all have my Karst thing, so hopefully you read it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we got it yesterday.
That's
I
okay.
read as much as possible
As long as,
yesterday.
cause it's over 4 minutes of a speech, so I'm just gonna go, first I'm gonna do my master plan stuff since that's what
Your
you're talking
master
about
plan,
today.
I'm going to advise you to wait till you get to.
Well, my own personal master plan concerns, not our ad hoc concerns,
Okay.
if that's okay. Or do you want me to put it in the ad hoc?
As the chair, if it's part of your master plan and as you are the chair of the ad hoc, I strongly encourage you to use your time wisely and speak about that in your agenda time. Not the Karst now,
Alright,
but your master
let me
plan
talk about
as
the
the
Karst
chair. I feel you have the right to talk about it then.
Okay, yeah. So this is, I'll say the rest at the end because this is a little long, but I'm gonna read you what I sent to Christy and what you guys have. The Karst Aquifer Coalition of Monroe County has reached out with concerns about data centers and all that comes with them. I attended a meeting on Monday, so including battery storage, located here specifically in Dundee and throughout Monroe County. As we sit on a unique type of geology, karst, which is predominantly composed of soluble carbonate rocks like limestone and dolomite. Karst rock is easily dissolved by slightly acidic groundwater and rainwater over time, and this creates distinctive landforms such as caves, sinkholes, sinking streams, and fractured rock. Think of Swiss cheese holes. We here in Dundee have definite proof that this type of rock is what would be sitting underneath the area of the data center. One, obviously, our limestone quarry. Two, the 4,200-foot core sample from Battelle and DTE's exploratory CO2 well project that was done in October and November of 2025 in Monroe Township. This site's less than a mile from where our data center would be proposed, not to mention that this land in Monroe Township was also previously part of the Dundee Data Center proposal. This sample showed what we already knew, which was limestone and dolomite. This is especially important when deciding on industrial developments in our village, in our township. The following was recently posted by the Karst Aquifer Coalition. Data centers, quote, data centers located in karst topography, landscapes underlain by soluble rock like limestone and dolomite face unique environmental challenges, primarily due to high geological fragility and complex groundwater systems. The construction and operation of these facilities can cause groundwater contamination, sinkhole formation, and depletion of vital resources. Highly vulnerable to pollution because water travels rapidly through underground conduits, caves, and fractures with little natural filtration. Industrial spills or chemical leakage from cooling towers can quickly contaminate regional water supplies, end quote. I attended the karst geology class taught by Professor Ned Berkey last month. Here I learned that these things have happened and had detrimental effects. One that stands out is an event that happened in Walkerton, Ontario. The water supply was easily contaminated with E. coli. Heavy spring rains washed livestock manure into shallow, vulnerable wells. This sickened 2,000 people and caused 7 deaths, although this example is not specifically industrial related. It shows how easily contaminants could be washed into the water supply and the wells of the residents. I also learned that Monroe County has 8 significant sinkholes and likely many more that are undocumented. The largest being Big Sink, located in Whiteford Township. Most recently in April 2024, a diesel spill near exit 5 on US 23 caused widespread panic as nearly 20,000 gallons of fuel leaked at the pilot gas station. In a 13 ABC News report, Professor Berkey quoted, "Once something gets down into karst geology, you can't control it." I've included the report in this document for you to read and research at your own time. In this area and throughout Monroe County, you can stick a shovel in the ground and hit bedrock. Other non-karst areas, this is not the case. There's solid rock and plenty of overburden to act as natural filters. In these other areas, rain and groundwater may move a couple inches per year, whereas our karst area, rain and groundwater can travel up to 7 to 10 miles per day. Because of these unique karst features, the studies that developers of a data center or battery storage facility do not apply to Dundee or Monroe County. Where they state affected areas will be only 1 to 2 miles, even less, actually is not accurate with karst. In fact, it can pull from 30 miles, and this is exactly why data centers, battery storage, and other industrial scale developments do not belong here. They simply do not fit this geology. This is a high risk and sensitive area. I'll stop here because I'm sure I'm getting to my time and it's a stopping point.
Okay.
So I'll leave that there.
Give my-
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah,
else
trying
with
to
public
talk fast.
comment right now? Alright, seeing none. Michaela, would you like to come up for the ad hoc report?
Sure.
And I just want to put on record for those that don't know, the reason I said Michaela can use this time to go over her ad hoc stuff is because she is in fact the chair of that committee. Out of respect for all the work that she has done on her own time, I feel that is appropriate. If you do not feel that is appropriate, you can email me and let me know.
So we did have our ad hoc, committee workshop, and we got a couple people. The written correspondence we got were more, there were two of them, and they were data center related. So I'm gonna hang on to those and keep them for our data center ordinance portion, cause I don't think they're really, there's some stuff that may pertain to the master plan, but I think it's more data center focused, so I'm gonna keep those on that, and then we'll go through them and add them to our running list of concerns. If there's something very master plan specific, I'll bring it to your attention, of course. I have some concerns. Oh, I just went through my thought was that you were going through like goal 1 and goal 2 today of the master plan,
Well,
or
in looking forward at this, we really have to come up with a schedule to, I hate to say the word completely redo, because that is a huge undertaking, but it needs to be looked at. There was a conversation with some people about the growth of Dundee, and yes, while the township might not be growing, but we work so closely with the village, we need to be respectful and mindful to make it work for our community. And Dundee was the most growth in Monroe County, so we have to really look at this, because this is made when my dad was younger, and growing is happening, and we have to be mindful and protect ourselves, so we have to really.
So is the plan to go through section by section?
That would be my plan, that we will discuss here more for us to work together on how to revamp this and make it work.
Okay, I just have a couple highlighted things, then I'll make it quick since it's not.
So was that your report on the ad hoc committee's master plan report?
Basically.
Could I just, as the liaison to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could I add most of the meeting we talked about the data center, or we listened about the data center. The only thing I got from the meeting about the master plan was that we need a master plan.
Yeah. And I think.
That's the master plan piece we got from the public.
And what we, as the planning commission, I
So-
believe needs to do is we need to definitely look at this, because all of our ordinances need to have support from our master plan, and unfortunately, there's too many loopholes in this that does not happen.
What I heard from the person from the public that commented about the master plan was, we need a master plan so that it's planned and not reactionary and willy-nilly.
And it's
So
something.
that was what I got
Yeah.
from that
Yeah.
public
Something useful.
input about master plan. Okay.
And when the master plan is done, we have to really use critical thinking. I don't think there's not one person in this room that would not love to see Dundee how it was when we all grew up, but reality is reality. And we have to use critical thinking, and we have to be smart. We're gonna get ourselves in a corner that we don't wanna be in.
Okay, so my couple things. So I just have highlighted here, like in the introduction, demographic information and physical conditions were updated and evaluated to ensure prior goals and objectives were still valid. I think that might need to be looked up. It's number 2, existing conditions might need to be looked at based on what Nancy was saying. I do like the public participation thing. I know that we did the ad hoc thing to get citizens input in the master plan, but I do think something with the village together would be good, like they did in 2001. Once it's done, once theirs is done, maybe look at both and then do like a public workshop like they held there, because of course now we have new people, we have new growth, like you said, so there might be some new things. Of course, I love the rural preservation, woodlands, wetlands, riverways, and farmland. This says future development, I know that was like way in the past, but regulate and manage growth in a way that's environmentally sensitive and does not adversely affect the township's rural character. I like that. Another thing was talking about millages. I always thought it would be cool to do a farm preservation millage like they do in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where everyone is just, they tax $10 every month and you can buy farmland if the township wants to buy farmland. That's just my own thing. The goal, under goal 1, community character, there's a warning, without measure to ensure their protection, these features could be easily lost or degraded, meaning our riverways and woodlands, wetlands, recreation, agricultural lands, all that. Even protecting, I mean, not just industrial, but even protecting from the impact of residential subdivisions by buffers, protection of the views, protection of preservation of wildlife habits, and there's support programs such as conservation easements, scenic easements, participation in the Monroe County Land Conservancy. I don't know if we have, I haven't looked, but I don't know if we have any of those here or where they are or what more we can do. Consider open space and agricultural overlay in threatened areas of the township, because there are some threatened areas of the township. Ensure zoning standards, this one's important, for site plan, special land use and reviews that consider protection of natural features, soil, topography when talking about karst. I think that really needs to be in here somewhere. And hydrology, which is water, so I think that needs to, that's a part that maybe we need to focus on. I'll talk a little bit about it more in my thing, about Summerfield's waste ordinance, specifically mentioning karst and their stuff, so I'll get to that. Prohibit and limit development and disturbance of floodplains and wetlands, maintain low residential use and use pattern within areas east of 23 around the village. That didn't get followed. Required large lot sizes, develop along M50, limit expansion of commercial and industrial buffers, of course, I said that. Support Monroe County trails and bike paths, considering required greenway and trail connections during plan review, I like that. Continue to work with the village on utility planning, sharing facilities associated with land use and all our 425s. I think we really need to take a look at the 425s, because all of this was done in 2001 and they said, okay, don't give the township, or don't give the village more land, and then they signed the agreement to give the village more land with no plan. I mean, those have been empty since 2006, and the specific pieces I'm talking about are on Stoll Road. Those have been empty since 2006, and they wanted water and a PA 425 for them with no plan, and they've been empty for 20 years. So that's something. Actively support the development and implementation of small-scale renewable energy projects, ensuring they're accessible, efficient, and beneficial to the local residents and business. I feel like that was probably one of the things that was updated when we started looking at renewable energy. Those are my master plan things as part of the ad hoc committee that I highlighted, I like, or think need some work.
Before she leaves, just because if you think I'm gonna remember everything she just said, even with the notes I
You want
took,
this?
or we can make a copy.
It's fine. I printed off.
Make you a copy tomorrow because we ran out of black toner today.
Oh, you're good. You can just have this, because I have the.
I can make a copy I can scan it.
I have
and copy
I have
it,
my
and
whole
can-
master plan. I made a copy so I could highlight
Okay.
those specific sections, so you
It's supposed to be here tomorrow, so.
can have that. Any questions for the ad hoc? Anything or anything I said, I guess.
How many people did you get to that workshop?
Not many. 10? I wanna say?
And probably only 4 spoke.
Yeah. We had 2 that turned in, like I said, that turned in correspondence, but they were basically data center related. There wasn't much of a, like I said, I'd like to see maybe a village and a township all promoted event like they did at the old mill or something, where we can really actually sit down and
I
like
kinda
review.
would think that would be standard master plan work stuff is to have public,
I think,
for the planning commission to have the public.
Plus, we would need it because the villages in the township, they're all
right,
We are so intermingled, it's.
they're township residents, but when you are doing research for demographics, you have to separate it out.
Right.
They've already done quite a bit.
village, I think, yeah, has done some master plan review recently.
What's the next steps for the ad hoc committee?
Next meeting is June 3rd, I believe, if that's a Wednesday, I think, I don't know. Still, we're keeping that one closed. Since we did the master plan stuff, we're going to start focusing on data center ordinance stuff. Make sure we're all on the same page, getting our list of concerns. Eventually, we'll do another open meeting with data center ordinance concerns, which hopefully we'll get more people too for that. But that hasn't been set up yet. We just kind of go month by month, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Michaela? I would just like to take the time to thank you for taking this out of your busy schedule. And I know there's a few people here that are a part of that, and thank them too for doing that, because it is appreciated, because we can't do this all on our own. And to the board up here, I will make a copy in color so you can see where she highlighted.
Good.
And now I will email that out to all of you tomorrow afternoon when I get to my office.
Thank you.
All right, on to master plan review. So for this, I think it's very clear we need to go through and revamp this. How that process works, I'm gonna go to the people that have a lot more experience than I do for your input.
So at the last meeting here, we discussed, we were gonna look at it and decide if we thought we could just tweak it, or if it needed a complete, like, throw it away and start over. I would be eager to see everyone's opinions on that, but, and then we can kinda.
So it was just done last year, right?
We paid for something to be done last year.
But they didn't do much.
Okay,
Very, very little changes.
okay, then that makes more sense.
But when I look at this and read through it, I think it touches everything that we are talking about and wanna see for this community. So I don't understand how there's so much that needs to be redone. I'm just not seeing it.
So all the demographic information needs to be correct, because then that will help lead the rest. And this is also coming, I'm trying to think back to what the attorneys had said about it.
Yeah,
And we need to make sure we have all of our details solid for what we consider light industrial and what can go where. That way we have a leg to stand on if we're saying yes, no, what can.
that's what they really talked the most about, was having that, population figures in that, and I think it was actually, I seen where it actually was in it.
It's in the last part of the
It's in the
master
last
plan,
part.
Yeah.
last pages, and it should be in the front.
I think that's what the Monroe
Right,
County.
yeah, that was one of their suggestions, that should have been in the front, it was in the back, but there was a, population number there, or a projected growth.
A lot of the maps are not accurate either in here. I don't know if anyone else.
So I guess my question is who, and I'm literally going to ask to have somebody thrown under the bus, and I apologize for that. Who signed off in the township to say, yep, this is good, without looking at these key things?
So, well, I think it might actually be right in the front page. Just being here for the day-to-day, I know that Lucy from Mannequin Smith would come and meet with Dave and Art and Joanna. They sit down, they'd have their discussions and go over things here. If anything outside of those, I'm not sure. I know the majority of the work and communication was probably done via email and between those individuals, and then it was brought back to us. I'm not sure if I'm correct on that.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
So perhaps this is a lot to
I don't,
break.
and like for context, from my point of view, a year or 2 or 3 years ago, when was this? What you just spoke of, you said Joanna, so it's been a couple years ago at least.
All the way up until Joanna was yeah, because they were working on it, and then it came through for us to review and approve, and it was,
That's the first quote they gave you for this.
oh, thank you so much. for
So
sharing
now the
that.
point of view is from all this data center talk, and this seems like it's a big terrible problem, but 2 or 3 years ago, like it was outdated, but it didn't seem like it was something that we should work on. It
So,
didn't seem like an emergency and a big terrible problem, just something that we needed to move forward with.
well, I don't think anyone was truly looking at it to see where the problems lie, because we didn't need to. May 22nd, 2024 was the quote, based on a meeting from May for updates to this.
Well, and I think too, that's why I mentioned critical thinking, because we make this and maybe like here's me talk, don't mince words, I try to be professional, but we all have this mindset, we live in a small Dundee community and that's not gonna happen here. Well, surprise, it's here, and we were not prepared for it.
Mhm.
And that's the pickle we're in now, and we have to have some of the verbiage in there, I think.
I think it says, was there a public input meeting in 2000?
August of 2000 was
I
the
was-
So that's been a while ago.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school.
The last time it was updated was 2019, or looked at.
Oh, we're the public hearing for like the community
And that
involved
was
with
in
the-
2001.
Right when
2001.
Cabela's was opening and before all the subdivisions, and again, that's a village, but when we are so intermingled, we have to remember that we are growing, this is still a rural farm, and
Can I say something
It
as
talks
ad hoc
about,
committee,
uh,
please?
yes, just because there's a small group here, but if we had a big group, I would say no.
I was gonna say to George, I like the master plan currently as it says too. I like it. But the things that we were having trouble with as the ad hoc committee coming up with like data center ordinance stuff was when we looked at that specific industrial piece of the master plan, it was like this is outdated. It says the cement plant's gonna close, which was 2009. So I think like, yeah, the concept is good and the flow, like, the goals are good, but like some of the stuff needs to just be taken completely out if it's not relevant anymore, or like you need to have the updated public workshop and put the new date in and stuff like that. So I think that's where at the maps, future land use, it shows all the industrial over there where they wanna do the data center as ag for our future land use. So I think it just kinda needs to correspond a little bit better with the times, and same with when we were looking up what light industrial could go into industrial. It was like phonographs and radio material production and
We
such.
are required to have industrial zone, right?
No,
Mhm.
I didn't verify that. I tried very hard and
Oh, yeah.
I
it did not, there are no state laws or ordinances that actually require
I shared
an
it with our
industrial area.
planning commission, because we are a zoning township, we have to have zones.
Or
If that
Michigan
makes
zone
sense.
enabling it.
And I can't tell you, I don't have my computer and I refuse to like,
Do we have to have an open zone all the time, or do we have to just have the industrial zone like the quarry?
This is, so that's why it's in here as light industrial, so we can kind of narrate what we want in there.
Gotcha.
And not just have industrial to anything that can be considered
Gotcha.
industrial. And we don't want a data center to come in and say, okay, well, we're commercial, and us
Right.
don't have it all under industrial. So there's the pockets that we
Yeah.
wanna keep them in.
Yeah,
If
the
we-
permitted uses is what we're
Yeah.
kinda like not up to date either, so
Yeah.
it was kinda hard for us to do our job when we were looking at that without the updated information. But I'm with you, I like it how it is.
There's, yes, I like the rural preservation and whatnot. Ideally, I would like to, I have an opinion on this, it would be to re-look at planners and see what's out there and, get some quotes to start fresh, take what we like and change what we need, cause I think there's a lot of details that we can all agree that we like, but.
yeah, cause there's so much here and you want to use some of the history that's here to build your
Mhm.
master plan. But we also need to have the the public come in as well, if we haven't had it since 2000, for
Mhm.
Pete's sakes. Over half of this stuff wasn't here in 2000.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look into what it would look like to work with the village, have an open, and maybe find a new planner. But I would also like, and I don't know how much power this board has, I would like to find about getting some of this money back to the township. If things were seriously not updated, that should have been updated, and it is very clear, they need to give some money back.
The clerk and I just had a very brief conversation about that today, this afternoon, about the expense that we've put towards this and compared to what we received, and the possibility of getting approval to, you know, go forward and get some quotes elsewhere. If it's, we could fit it in the budget. But if the board decides, this planning commission decides that's the avenue they wanna take, then that's something that we'd have to recommend to the township board.
So I personally don't feel we need to throw this out and start from scratch. I personally, as the chair, feel that we can build off this with a new planner, but I would also encourage the township board to look at to getting some money back. Because again, if this stuff is clearly incorrect, and I will be completely honest, I have not had time to go through every single one of these pages, and that is completely unacceptable. You pay for a service, you get a service. So. Yes,
I
Mr.
would
Horton.
hope that we don't get the cart before the horse. Have you talked to have you as the chairwoman talked to the planner?
I have not talked to them, no.
I would
I
like to
can-
see you get more involved
I can,
and, to
better
better understand what
what
is
happened
being
here,
proposed
Yep.
here before we go too far with that. I seem to remember, I think it's been 10 years ago, I'm terrible with timelines. I was involved once, I think, in trying to find a new planner. And that, it seems, and I think it was 10 years ago.
I think it's within the 10 years, cause we switched from one
From
coming to
Carlisle,
Manic and Smith, yeah.
Wortman to Manic, when we hired Carlisle Wortman. I don't think there was a lot of planners excited about, like, looking for work.
Now they are.
so
A lot of firms
Yeah,
that were looking for more clients. And we ended up with Carlisle Wortman. And I was new then, so I wasn't real personally involved, but I don't know that, my personal opinion was that I would just had frustration. Communication was difficult and we didn't, well, this might be part of the result. I don't think they did much for the township. And then I don't know how we transitioned from them to Manic and Smith. I don't remember that transition.
I believe that was either happening.
Carlisle Wortman, I think,
Right.
told us they were quitting us.
I can actually tell you what happened. I've got the documentation right here. If you're interested, if you want me to talk.
is anybody opposed?
It might be helpful to understand that. if it's-
In 2019, Carlisle Wortman gave us a proposal to update the master plan. And it would have costed $11,000 to do everything that they said needed done, which would have included maps and verbiage and a lot of other things that needed to be added because the laws had changed. And because it was $11,000, we said no. So they gave us another option and said, well, okay, for $3,000, we'll go through it and we'll make a few updates.
So
And
that's why we have
said
something
yes.
that's not updated.
And that's why we don't have them anymore either, is because the township got upset because they were charging so much. But they were charging so much because there was so much to do. You know, so that's why we got rid of them too. And it went so far as for, they just said the requirements were met for the current conditions, we don't need to update, is what the minutes said in the meeting. And then our supervisor wrote them a letter thanking them for reviewing the master plan, and put it to rest. And this didn't actually even end up, 2019 didn't even end up as a date on our master plan. My understanding is we don't have a copy of that existing master plan anymore, other than what we have in our old stuff. So, nothing happened, basically.
And I do believe we've spent around 8,000 so far with
Yeah.
this company for.
And didn't
this
get
product.
anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so, what really stinks is we meet once a month,
Mhm.
and I feel like we talk, nothing happens, so I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I also don't wanna waste the township time and all that as well, so is anybody opposed to me as the chair getting a hold of her and maybe sitting down with some of our township, Ron, you, whoever else knows, to get me caught up to speed. However, I do want some advice on where and hold these meetings, cause I'll be damned if I get accused of doing some backdoor deals, and I want to make sure that everything is out, open, and I don't,
Yeah, I think a meeting with you and, Lucy to be brought up to speed, and a representative from the board would be good, and even if we brought on the, attorney who's talked to Lucy about things like this, I think you're secure, because you're not making any decisions or actions, it's just to bring you up to speed. It can happen here, or you can probably do it over Zoom. I'll see what I can find out,
okay,
but I'll send you Lucy's info.
that would be great. So, does that, I know.
And if through that process you wanted to recommend at our next meeting that we think about getting quotes from other
Okay.
companies, then you could develop a plan to present to us at our next meeting to work that way, or not.
Nope, that will work. So our next meeting, I will have my suggestion on how we should move forward with this. So we need to probably take a vote on that.
I don't think we need to vote for you to meet with them.
Like,
Go for it.
Yeah, we don't need a vote, we wouldn't need a vote until you came and said either, like,
This is-
yes, we wanna
Okay.
pursue new, but we're good.
okay. Any other questions, comments about the master plan from the board?
Oh, yes, I wanna add that, if we decide to, whatever your decision may be, if it has to be with making these changes, I might wanna get you Ryan's number from the village as well, if anyone's opposed from you touching base with the village about getting some updated information from them.
Yeah, no, I think that is super important for us to work in cahoots with them.
Get that introduction down.
Yeah, I've talked to him on the phone about a few different things.
Oh, good.
In the fall, like with school stuff and that, and their master plan, cause I was going to be on that, but we don't know how that worked out. Alright. Anything else about the master plan before we move on? If you gentlemen wanna keep, I believe some of you have already read through this plenty of times, it sounds like George and Ed, you're probably very familiar with it. Travis is probably familiar with it, but you and I have some more to do. That's alright.
I got through the first part of it.
I just wish I had a better understanding of where we're kinda open to, legalities, you know, with this stuff. I don't understand what we're lacking, and I'd like to have a better understanding of that. What the master plan now is lacking, so much that it's gonna get us in trouble with these large projects.
I think it might, just in a little bit, I've been trying to educate myself in community in the 1 month. I think it's those gray areas to where somebody with a lot of money can come in and say, yeah, but that's fine, but in this little section here, with dealing with such these big projects, we need to have it tight. For us here, it's like, oh my god, that's so stupid, let it go.
Yeah.
But,
There's a number of references that are just outdated, like it.
Yeah,
It's a millage
no
for
doubt
what-
it needs to be
a millage
updated,
to
for
build
sure.
a new school. And the last public meeting was from 2000. I mean, just being that so many, you could make a list of so many things that are 25 years outdated.
Yeah, that should have been cleaned up right the last, it says 2025 on it.
yeah.
Them things should have been cleaned up to the last
somebody that went through and edited this like you would a book that you
Yeah.
published should have caught all that, and they did not. So maybe that'll be a conversation too of some things should have been red flagged. I don't wanna be charged again for you
Yeah.
to clean this up. So I will have an update for everybody at our next meeting. Alright, moving on to building permits, he's not here, does anybody have anything for that?
I'll just add the zoning board of appeals have somewhat of a meeting. They were unable to vote because they didn't have enough for a quorum, so I believe we're in the process of trying to reschedule that, and then there'll be more information.
Okay.
I never got notice of that.
You didn't receive the letter?
No, I did not know it was a meeting that night.
I'm wondering, cause I had asked how the notifications went out, and the letters were mailed, so I'm gonna check to see where it could've went anywhere,
Oh,
so.
through the bail?
Yeah, there's like a formal notice that has to be mailed for that.
Oh,
I just learned that as well. So, but I will email you when
Yeah.
I find out when the next date is.
okay.
Alright, anybody else have anything to say about ZBA or any of that? Alright, so we're gonna move on to the last public comment, again, 3 minutes. What? Oh
You gotta
my
do
god,
that, Senator.
I crossed off the new business, thank you Travis, I am so sorry. So for new business.
You guys probably didn't hear me, I said,
Perfect middle C.
Yeah, I was cross and I was trying to like just get through here. I apologize about that. So for,
We didn't talk about the data center ordinance, did we? Review?
we did not.
I was purposely letting that go so we could circle back to it later.
Oh.
It's in a better order that way.
I thought that was with the ad hoc.
I thought so too, that's why I crossed off, that is my fault.
I'm taking this color copy.
So for the
Can
data.
we talk about battery center, battery storage first?
All these notes all over. Yes, somebody kick me and remind me to go back up there.
I got one here.
Alright, so under new business, we, for those that don't know, at the township board meeting last week,
Yes.
we have been tasked with coming up with that battery storage ordinance. I had emailed out to the planning commission for informational purposes only to review a local township's battery ordinance, storage ordinance, along with Travis's recommendations for a change. Did you guys receive that via email and have a chance to review that? And you
I
guys,
kinda had my eye on batteries storages since we finished when we did the solar ordinance a few years ago, and then the wind ordinance, and then it seemed like batteries would be the next thing, cause it would go with those things, right? Cause the sun doesn't shine at night.
right.
So it's kind of been on my radar, and then I got a little break from the township. So I kind of already was somewhat familiar with this neighboring township's ordinance, and I thought it was a good starting place. So then the board thought we should hurry up and have an ordinance for battery storage.
Somebody had reached out to the supervisor, and wanting to meet to discuss battery storage, and he suggested they come to a public meeting to express anything that they would like. But there are guidelines, because through best, they can go straight to the state if we don't have a workable ordinance. So we would really like to have a workable ordinance, and that works for us as soon as possible, so that way they don't just bypass us and have to follow state-only regulations.
So I think that was emailed out, so everybody's had a chance to read it, whether you did or not. So taking that neighboring township's ordinance and being familiar with our wind ordinance and being on the ad hoc committee and spending a fair amount of time thinking about ordinances and developments and listening, I've been collecting ideas for these kinds of things, so I've inserted language into that Riga's ordinance.
So the blue is yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I deleted some stuff, and then it was so busy and hard to read, so I just deleted it. I first crossed it out and changed the color, and I was like, this is hard to comprehend.
I didn't
There's a
realize
few
Travis
things
was
I
so
deleted.
tech-savvy.
Okay.
A little more than I was a week ago.
Yeah.
So, there's things in here from the township's wind ordinance. All the language about the bonding or escrow. A lot of things from listening to being part of the ad hoc committee. I guess my point is, I don't know that there's anything that we need to vote on about this either, but I've spent so much time working on this, and if I'm heading the wrong direction, I want to hear that. I won't waste any more of my time.
No, I think you're doing
I think you're doing a
Fantastic job.
fantastic job. Matter of
I
fact,
think it needs to be, no,
come on, you wanna be like your brother, you can have one of those.
So when we,
there's things there's more to talk about and more polishing to do, but if it's a good foundation to keep working on, I think it would be, before our next meeting, there'd be time to consult some professionals and get some feedback and.
So what I really like when Travis did this, and I didn't go through and read all of the wind ordinances and stuff to compare, but having kind of some of the same verbiage just helps with that consistency. So if we're ever put in a corner where somebody wants to challenge it, we can say, look, this ordinance, they're all consistent with each other.
right,
So I think I'm grateful we only meet once a month, but at the same time, it's almost like the bane of the existence. Because if we like this, then we put in the tweaks that we need to make this, the things that Travis put in there and make it a Dundee Township ordinance, we can do that, but then we can't vote on it for a whole nother month.
Yeah, and then that is a vote to recommend to
do
The
the
township.
township, yeah.
So I think the goal is to have this before somebody goes to the state, so
Yes.
hopefully at our next meeting, we could have something to recommend to the board.
Or submit some.
And we also have to have a public meeting to make an ordinance. The planning commission has to have a public meeting, is that?
Yes. I say I wasn't on the planning commission at that time, I don't remember. It wasn't so long, so long.
And we can incorporate it within the meeting.
So we can make that part of our next month's meeting.
If we want to, yeah, you gotta, I don't know what the dates, you gotta have it advertised minimum of so many days. I took care of that, so I don't know what the days.
But now what's the next step for this? We gotta take this to a professional, I'm sure, and get their input to make sure we're not stepping outside of our legal boundaries.
Yeah,
Right,
don't-
I mean-
As a potato farmer, I don't think
So would it,
I'm related to a lawyer.
So,
Does that count?
I think we would send what we like to our attorneys and have them look it over, and, Carrie usually drafted our ordinances for us.
so if we take this document here and we forward it to Carrie and say, we like this, please make these changes and make it, take away all the
Mhm.
yellow highlighted stuff,
Yeah.
she would do that?
And then I would also ask, like, well, how does this work for us, any suggestions, what you like and don't like, and she's usually pretty good at laying it all out, so. And then hopefully by our next meeting, she could have something for us to really look at and hopefully decide on.
Okay, so I can, if nobody's opposed to it, I can send this to Carrie, tomorrow and ask her to do those things, and hopefully she'll get it back to us soon. And if we're a go, I will send that out for information so everybody can read it. And I will touch base with Carla probably about doing the public in how many days or whatever.
I just made a note to discuss with her tomorrow to get the outline for
Okay.
that.
Now, so we need that before, and we have a month to try to, for our next meeting, right? And then the planning commission will review it again and vote on whether or not to send that to the board, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
And wherever the public meeting fits in there.
Hopefully
Whether
at our
that, maybe
next
that's at the
meeting.
same
It
time
would
and maybe
be-
it can't be, I don't know.
7:00 public hearing, 7:05 regular meeting, depending on if anyone comes.
Okay.
But the rub with that is this planning commission then can't like deliberate on it again before.
Well, it'd be public hearing, and then we can deliberate and vote either yes or no and make the tweaks at that point.
Could we, if it's on the record, we could say, I approve this ordinance with the amendment of
Well, what we'd be doing is recommending it to the board.
Right, we could vote to say, we approve this ordinance with the tweaking of the noise hours to go from 7 AM to 8 AM. And then we would update those changes and then they could submit it. So we could still make tweaks, I believe, as long as we vote, and when we vote, we say to approve to send this to the township with these amended things in there.
Does anybody have any concerns right now?
Where did you get on page 7? I didn't know if this came from wind and solar or straight from RIGA. The 300 feet from the body of water and 750 feet from the property line adjoining, from the waterways for 300 feet. How did you come up with that distance?
Well, it's not from Riga's because it's in blue.
Yes.
It's, probably.
The data center ordinance.
So what I was gonna circle back to was the data center ordinance, so a lot of this language in blue, a lot of it was, some of it's directly from wind, like, the performance guarantee stuff, I think. Some of it is from wind and tweaked from things that I've heard from being on the ad hoc committee. Like the 750 feet thing, that is something that's it's gonna be my personal, like from what I'm hearing, people's concerns and, 750 feet from residential properties. That's an ad hoc, that's a data center thought I have, I don't know where it came from, I don't know who to give credit to it.
Oh, I was more like the 300 feet from body of water or stream. That's the one that I was more so wondering.
What do you want it to be?
Really a lot farther than that.
See, I know there's only so much we can get away with too.
Yeah,
With
so-
being within guidelines, reasonable guidelines.
Yeah.
So that's where we need a professional to guide us.
Then,
There's a
yeah.
trade-off, because then it takes more space, and then it takes more land, and.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
space.
if you tell them they gotta be a mile off the road, you can't do that.
yeah,
They
and
said, sorry, they have 29 acres, they said they only need 8 to actually use it, to do it, so I don't think the setbacks.
The
are
battery
gonna be like-
itself.
The
Yeah.
batteries.
I
I
mean,
just thought some sort of increase, especially with the karst geology that we're speaking about. I mean, I don't know if it'll make a huge difference, but the water's very important, so.
The webinar for the information that you had sent out, that was one thing that those attorneys talked about, was where some people got in trouble was if they make specific ordinances with these big setbacks, but it doesn't go along with other ordinances, how does it play? Like,
Yeah.
for instance, most of the stuff I saw in the regular ordinances, setbacks were 50 to 100 feet, but the data center is 500 feet. Now this is 750 feet. Does that bring up red flags?
Yeah.
So that, again,
I don't have it off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but the quarry, like where they're blasting, I think Dundee Township, is it 350 or 400 feet? It was hard to find that ordinance when I was trying to find it for myself.
I thought it was 200 for, I would take a meter.
London Township
London's
is,
200.
London Township is only 200, which I think is
And-
absurd to be able to
I'm-
blast that
I thought
close
it
to
was
a home.
400 for them.
I'm in Dundee though, so
Yeah,
I thought it was 250,
I'm just,
but I don't know.
another reason to have a professional take a look at it,
Yeah.
right? Because, yeah, they kept within a mile of our property line, well, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense to your point, George, so.
There's a place in here, there's some language in here and a place to change the language or add
Yeah.
about contamination and monitoring. And I don't know what, and I think there's some, it's probably from the RIGA people. Rules or systems to contain the battery itself, and I'm not familiar with that. I think that's in here, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah. I don't know, I like the 750 feet from the property lines, I just feel like 300 feet does not seem far at all.
well, when we send this to her, I can highlight that in a color to say parts that are highlighted, like we have questions, is that feasible, are we asking too much? Because I don't want to get ourselves in trouble, and Steve is right, in all those webinars, of course, we would love to absolutely say, no data center,
Yeah.
no battery, but then that's how we get taken to court and we lose all control.
And we can't say no to battery because the state will just follow behind and say yes.
And we can't really say no to a data center, we can just make sure they have special rules to follow and they don't wanna be here.
So that also has crossed my mind, so Riga's was probably 4 or 5 pages, and now this is like 13,
Yeah.
15.
Right. That's what I was-
So the thought that crosses my mind is the state, the PA 233,
Yeah,
if we're so restrictive that,
It's not proposed.
if they're so restrictive that they
They're
don't
just gonna
even
use
think
the
they can
state
even
guidelines
talk to us
anyway.
at all, they're just gonna go right to the state. So maybe we should, I don't know, maybe
That's
the
what we-
strategy should be
Yeah,
to
that was
make it
my
actually
only
not
worry.
really hard.
What would be so bad about them having to go to state?
Because
Yeah.
then the
There's less
state,
stringent rules than
yeah.
our local.
I don't know, I wonder if they go to
They
the
don't
state,
wanna
could
go
they
to the
put it,
state though.
right, but then the state has full control and the state doesn't know.
But I think they wanna work, so if we say 500 feet from a waterway and the state says 200, then I feel like they'd come up with a,
can we now, if we have the ordinance that they follow and we could say you can put it in the industrial zone, if they go to the state, could they put it anywhere in the township?
they
Not
can
if
put it
we
in
have
the
an
township,
ordinance,
it's in
I
residential
don't
right now.
think, that's the whole push to get this done.
If
They
they
can
go to
probably force a rezone.
if they go to the state, they would follow what the state decides, so we would have zero say.
That might be more questions for the legal.
I guess, is this workable, or highlight that and be like, how high would still be considered workable?
Yeah.
And go from there, because that's what we need to stay within those boundaries.
Travis, on the page 10. And under O, near the bottom of O, before P, it says the township has the right to increase bond or demand additional financial security on a case-by-case basis. That sounds awful broad, because if you go down so much a year, that bond should increase maybe every 2 years, every 3 years, to keep up with inflation. If stuff, they move out, township has to clean up, and the bond may not be big enough. Cause I see 125%. But
Little before that, it says decommissioning plan and financial guarantee should be reviewed every 3 years to ensure
Okay.
cost estimates. We'll continue to cover those, so I think that verbiage would cover
Would it
that
cover it?
inflation.
okay,
There was somewhere I saw some language about being able to increase the bond due to inflation, and I thought that was really limiting. Cause what about any other reason that the bond needed to be increased?
Mhm.
This specific language, this whole O is, I've worked on that for a long time, way before I was asked to work on the battery ordinance last week.
I have no problem with it. You know, just I want specific, do we want specifics in there? I don't know.
Yeah. And I can make that too, like I can highlight it and put a comment there, and I'm sure Carrie understands how to find all that stuff to say, hey, does this cover inflation? Is this,
Well, inflation
The
or
way I-
anything else.
The way I read it, it just says we can increase it if we want to.
Mhm.
That's what I think it means.
Well, I understand that, but do we need more specifics?
Oh, do we need
Sounds great.
to say why we would increase it, or is that what you're saying?
Part of it, yeah. And I guess the lawyer would know better.
I would like the chance to kind of proofread this myself and maybe
before
just,
I send it to
and just,
Carrie?
and just like clarify some of the language a little
Okay.
bit. Not like major changes, but
On page 11, I noticed on page 11 you have, and, paragraph T, where it talks about the groundwater. It says due to data center. I think that was probably a copy and paste from.
you caught me.
Busted. So then Travis, if you wanna go through and proofread this again and then send me the cleaned up one.
Okay, see, and then there was some things in yellow, I mean, most of that was because it was from earlier, but, this one right here, paragraph U on page 11. It says property tax guarantee, or it could be payment in lieu of taxes, or idea came from data centers. My thought was, some municipalities might give a data center a tax break for 12 years. Well, by the time a computer's 12 years old, what's it worth? It's not worth very much at my house, but I don't know in a data center. My thought is, the property, the tax, the suggestion they make of revenue coming to the township could, you know, and who knows what Lansing will ever do, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know if it's legal to put language in that they pay the township a minimum amount, no matter what. No matter what you say your property's worth, or what computers are worth, or what Lansing does, can we put language in to say you're gonna pay a minimum amount? I don't know what that wording is. I'd like to
PILT,
ask if we can do that, and
It's a PILT, payment in lieu of taxes, you were right. It's actually a term for it. I don't know the details on it.
I'd like to find the simplest language to get that done.
Where'd you get the money from the state instead of coming from the company?
For the payment in lieu of taxes, it would be what they would still have to pay, but it wouldn't be based on taxable income or taxable value.
So there is a thing. Tilt.
In my research for data centers, I found that term.
I'm a social worker, not a ordinance worker.
I think all in all, this looks phenomenal though, and I really appreciate all the work that you've
Yes,
done.
for sure.
I don't know how you get any farming done.
Surprisingly, a lot of time was spent to try to get the numbers and letters right.
You must have autos.
It made it
here.
really hard to read when it was all jumbled up.
That's why I did come, I'm like, what is all the green, like, what are the highlights, Travis? What am I doing here? And he's like, that's where I was making my spots to follow.
that's why I was like, I'm gonna do all this in color for everybody, cause I don't know.
So shouldn't our battery storage ordinance and our data center ordinance look about the same?
I think
Really, I mean,
we're gonna have to have, from my understanding, we're gonna have something in the data center ordinance for like the discharge of the water and the electric and things
Yeah.
like that too.
I also have been working on the data center ordinance, just I feel like there's a lot of, everybody talking and complaining, and it's like everybody's just kinda spinning their wheels, we need to get some traction. So I've been working on that in a similar fashion. A lot of this language, then the battery thing came up, so it was just right there for me to copy and paste.
Yeah.
And I mean, I did most of the data centers I took out and put battery storage, except that one. So I've been working on it. I don't know if the planning commission or the board or the ad hoc committee will like it or not, but
I know the
I mean,
board,
I've been trying to organize, I've been just trying to get something organized. If it, maybe by next month, or it is planning season.
yeah,
Hopefully I can have something to show you guys, and also the ad hoc committee's working still. I mean, there's still input coming in. But I wanted to have a place to put it.
Yeah.
When we get ideas or language.
one that,
So we'll see if anyone likes it. I also don't wanna spend an inordinate amount of time working on it if it's just gonna get thrown away, so trying to pace myself, but I'll try to have something to bring to the planning commission at some point, and hopefully it's not in a hurry and it can be
Are you talking about the
the
data?
data center,
Okay, so
my version of a data center
data
ordinance,
center-
but,
The
But I mean, the ad
moratorium
hoc-
was passed.
and the ad hoc committee's still doing their part. So I don't wanna get ahead of that.
Yeah, we need to,
Right,
we've got master plan, battery ordinance, data center.
Yep.
We have a lot going on and we all work.
but isn't
Yep,
that
and that's
moratorium
it's
up in
complex.
July?
No, that's what I'm gonna get at. So the moratorium at the township meeting was extended for 12 months from the date it expires. So in
Oh.
July,
late
June
June.
28th, I heard.
Yes, late June is when, so late June of 27 it will expire. We extended it for a year.
yes,
Oh.
so we can breathe a little bit.
Yes, because of the master plan situation. So now it's battery storage is this is
Okay.
our main priority at the request of the township board,
Oh,
and then master plan.
And I thought, are you getting my emails? I made a Dundee Township PC Gmail email
Yep.
because, and I'll talk more about that here in a little bit at the appropriate time. But yes, the moratorium passed, and so we have until June of 2027, so we can put that on the back burner, and I think we need to focus on battery, master plan, and then, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I don't want there to be misunderstanding about what I'm doing with thinking about data centers, but
You're doing fine.
I'm trying to get some kind of structure, and I don't wanna get ahead of the ad hoc committee and if people don't like what I have, then that's fine. Or it's good enough and everyone can collaborate and we edit it,
Yeah, I think
so
we
it's there, and hopefully the process leads to me sharing it with you and you can tell me what you think about it, but this is all complex as you just described, so.
yeah, I think we need to get this battery ordinance set and ready so we can hopefully have a vote on it at our next meeting. The data center ordinance, I'm not saying don't work on it because we have a year, but it's, in my opinion, battery, master plan, data center ordinance. And I will have more of an update on the master plan after I speak with Lucy and meet with her Because hopefully we can just take and clean up those gray areas and get it updated. But if you want to, Travis, I know you said you wanted to go through this one more time before I send it off to Carrie, so we can clean it up a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. And we'll get her opinion, and then hopefully if she says it's a go, then I can get it out for you guys to review for informational, so we can hit the ground running at our next meeting.
I would request that you also CC Chris Patterson in on it, the other attorney.
Yeah, that's the one I have not talked to
Yeah.
Carrie yet, so.
Carrie's great, but I know Chris has been leaning heavily in the data center and battery storage issues with other municipalities, so I'd like to hear what he has to say on all of it too.
Okay. So I will definitely have to get Carrie's contact information from this, because I do not have
Yeah,
hers.
I'll send you Carrie and Lucy's.
Okay, perfect. So anything else on the battery ordinance before we jump back to the data center? I know they kinda all intermingled, but I don't wanna take away. George, do you have anything else to add on the data center ordinance?
No, just, we had a draft from the planning commission, and then we had a draft from one of the township board members, right?
Mhm.
And I think there's good stuff in both of them, but I guess now it just makes me feel better that we got more time to, take the good from all of them, what Travis is working on, and come up with something solid.
Yep, I agree, they both have some good points, and that, I was very panicky, like, how are we gonna get this done when we're supposed to,
Yeah.
we're gonna screw up, but once I found out that the moratorium passed, I was like, alright, we can get it right. Alright, does anybody have anything else before we move on to the second part of the public comment?
I should just ask. This is something I haven't figured out for the data center or the battery. The data center's got a lot more attention. Then there's a lot of concern about the noise from a data center. And there's been a lot of back and forth about the maximum decibels. What about during construction? Let's say, so like on the extreme end, somebody possibly could suggest that we limit maximum decibels to 40, which is like really quiet.
What is the
Can
standard grain dryer?
we say that they can only be 40 decibels during construction? I don't know that that's possible.
Can't we outline the construction phase in there?
And limit construction hours.
Yeah.
And we
So
can
then-
say construction phase officially ends, we have to have when we cut that off, or else they will always be.
They have to
In
have a
construction.
construction plan. I mean, we have language about spelling out the construction plan and timeline and
And once they start operating, they can't be
Still
considering
under
construction still just for the sake of noise.
Do you know what the decibel is on a regular grain dryer? Cause I think we're gonna have to have some verbiage in there so nobody can contest it that says, if not agriculture. Because somebody's gonna be like, oh, well,
It's different.
Mrs. Rogers is running her grain dryer and it's super loud, blah, 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 well.
Are you an agricultural doing
Right,
it, or are
so
you
do we
in-
need to have that verbiage in, do we have to say non-agriculture, or is that, do we have to have that in here to protect us?
I think it just has to stay specific to the industrial
Okay.
use that we're speaking of.
But my question is, what's the decimal of 23? I don't know.
Well, I think it was Cloverleaf, but somebody suggested it was 70.
How do you
Just so-
find that out?
Oh, it's
I have no,
pretty loud sitting at the soccer field when the kids are playing. It's
You can look at the
Compare it
originals.
to, okay.
The what?
Their meeting when they had it over at the mill, and they had that thing, and they said this is how many decibels we could do. I think it was 65, wasn't it?
maybe
That the data center themselves said.
So what I heard was compare it to other things in our lives.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, my damn kids.
That makes
are being
sense.
Super loud,
24/7.
yeah.
24/7. The grain dryer's not on 24/7
Yeah.
or all the months.
Lawnmowers aren't on 24/7.
I debate that.
You run it all day, every day?
Almost.
Not every day, but
During
the
harvest.
grain dryer,
Yeah,
if we're combining corn,
That's
the
all
grain
I hear,
dryer's
not every
running
day.
all night too.
You have to, you're ours.
But
I
you're not
get
in
it.
a residential
Yeah.
area, are
Actually
you?
like that compared to other things. I'm sure there's a way to.
But yeah, but I live in the
Figure that
country,
out.
so I'm not gonna be complaining about it
Yeah.
prior.
How about so then how about the construction hours?
I think
Did
we
you
have
read that?
that.
Did you
Yeah, I
just-
see
I mean,
that
does
too,
that
and
seem?
I think that's appropriate.
That's probably 8 to 5.
7 to 7,
And I don't
yes.
know how
7
much
to
you can
7,
get away
okay.
with.
7 to 7 during the week and 8 to 5 on Saturday. No Sundays or federal holidays.
You know, they might wanna work 2 shifts, I don't know how you can get away with that.
I think that's.
Oh, you can put it in there, they have to,
I say,
I deal with this all the time in other
Oh, really?
places, it depends on where you're at, especially if it's near residential areas, a lot of times they won't let you work past 6 o'clock at night, so 7 to 7 is more than fair,
Is
in
8
my opinion.
Is 8 to 6 fair? For the sake of children and
It-
getting ready
it-
for school.
I guess it could be, I guess it depends on where you're at, but typically 7 o'clock in the morning has been normal start times, and
Is it no, okay.
then usually you're not working 12-hour shifts, so.
I think the Corey's workable hours are supposed to be 6 AM and sometimes I'm out at 5:15. I'm like,
They take a
something's
lunch.
moving back there.
They take a lunch, cause they got a break and then,
Yeah.
and then you don't hear it.
I'm
And
just
you hear it
thinking-
at 1 o'clock.
The construction traffic competing with the school traffic coming from
Oh,
the
that's-
west side of town, it's already horrific, so.
Yeah,
I mean, if I could get my kids to school before they start, that would be great.
Mhm.
That's a village problem. I could go on and on about that. As somebody that sits in that seat sometimes with a bus full of kids in the afternoon trying to pull out on town, and when I take the turn lane, I get a look and I'm like, say something, I
I like when they're
Sure
trying to
seems like
turn
a
on
me
Arbor
problem
Road and
right
they're
now.
backed up past the expressway, and I'm like,
dare you.
okay.
Alright. Public comment for real this time.
You wanna go?
Can finish my thing or you can go.
The master plan update. I think probably would be a good idea to start with what is actually required by law to be in a master plan, which we don't currently have. We have, I think, 2 sections that are missing, according to the law was passed in 2024, I believe, the end of 2025 maybe. And it added a section where you have to have a housing plan. And I believe Monroe suggested we have a better transportation plan, which we don't currently have. We have a little verbiage on transportation, but it really isn't a plan. But really start with what needs to be in there legally. And then, section by section is how I understood last meeting we were going to do that, section by section, which is good. I mean, there's some good things in there, but, maybe think about how it should be set up. It was terrible to read. I read the whole thing, line by line, page by page. It's a terrible, terrible thing to have to read. But we're not ever gonna use it if it's a terrible thing to have to read, right? We're not gonna use it. So let's make it usable. Maybe put the little bit of historical information we wanted in it first, where we're at now, which is the data and the information, right? Where's Dundee now? What do we want? And then the third would be the future. What do we want for our future progression? How are we going to proceed? And if you put it in a line that's easily read, you're going to use it. But if you keep it like it is, nobody's ever going to read it. It's not going to get used. Just like George says, what's it good for? Is it legal? Yes, it is legal. But in a stance that if somebody came to town and said, we want to build a data center, here's your ordinance, well, it doesn't get backed up by anything in the master plan. You don't even mention a data center in the master plan. You don't mention zoning for us in a master plan. And we're a like use anyway, you know, so they're gonna come up with that, and the judge will back it. You know, they're gonna look back to see what does the community want, what is in their master plan, and does the ordinance follow that guideline? So it is a legal document, and it is by law, you know, there are laws that pertain to it. And I wanted to mention that I'd heard that we might have some of our maps are done, but we just haven't received them. So maybe when you talk to Lucy, to see if we got our maps, because I don't think that we got everything into this master plan that they actually did. And they should have given us some copies themselves to review, and I don't know that that happened, or if it just got emailed over to Dave, who emailed it to Carla, who printed some copies. Don't know. Ask Lucy, what are her credentials? My understanding is that she is a architect. So does she have MSU certification? Did she go through the classes there? Does she have the courses, or is she just trained on the job? You know, what's her background? She's made a lot of mistakes on this master plan, just not in the writing, but in telling us how to proceed with it, you know, and how to do it legally. And that was a big mess, and we had to start and stop 2 or 3 times, because she didn't know what she was doing, and we didn't know how to do it. So, when you're looking at different places, you know, different people to work with, make sure you check the credentials, because they're not all the same. And Lucy might have the credentials, I don't know, but there were sure a lot of errors. And as far as lawyers are concerned, think legalities, don't think, you know, is this setback okay? She's not an engineer, she's a lawyer, you know? So you gotta do some of your own legwork and look at other people's ordinances. And I believe you're gonna get some information here from my good friend, Michaela. My good friend. My co-conspirator.
All right, I'm gonna finish my list here. I'll say this part again because I think it's important. This is exactly why data centers, battery storage, and other industrial scale developments do not belong here. They simply do not fit this geology. There's a high risk and sensitive area. To the board, well, to the planning commission, I suggest you read Summerfield Township's waste ordinance as it relates to Karst. I have included that in a handout as well. A quick summary is as follows. Having reviewed scientific studies that find the disposal of waste from any source into the ground, as well as disposal of such waste into surface waters, onto the land, or into the air in Summerfield Township pose a significant threat to health, safety, and welfare of residents in the township due to the karst terrain. As I've been saying for what feels like 100 years, the threat of contamination does not stop at township and village lines. We need to collaborate with other surrounding townships in Monroe County to protect our residents, and we need to have coinciding ordinances with surrounding areas. On the topic of battery storage, I want to give a little bit of information. I don't think I gave it to the planning commission. I think I spoke at the village and township meetings, but not here. There's a proposal for battery storage by EDF Energy. It's in the village. It would be 29 acres. The land was previously owned by Arbor Chase. It'd be right next to Phil Modelinski's house, if you know where he lives on Culver Road. So they said they only need 8 acres. They have 29 acres. They're doing testing right now. They said you'll see people out there. You can call the developers. I have their numbers. They said it would operate at 55 decibels all the time. There's a humming sound from the batteries. I asked about a evacuation radius or like anything if a fire happened, and she said, well, you're 0.9 miles away, so you're fine. And I said, that's not far enough for me. But anyway, so that's currently happening in the village right now. I suggested a moratorium to them. I suggested a moratorium to the township. I don't know if that's gonna get anywhere. I don't even know if you can do that with PA 233. I don't really know. But I think that's, could be a route if you need more time to work on an ordinance. There is a backup location that she was talking about, being on Lafleur Road and Dundee Azalea Road, which would be almost directly across from Chrysler, in between the tracks in Chrysler, on Dundee Azalea, which would be really close to Arbor Chase Sub, really close to the school. Currently Covell Road is about a mile, like as the crow flies, a mile-ish, mile and a half from the school. So I just kind of relate that to where we're thinking. For those of you who don't know where Covell Road is, it's off of Rogers or behind Stoll Road, near Radka Road, over in that area. Behind there, the land is currently zoned residential for the village, so they'll probably have to rezone. I don't actually know if they have to rezone. And then there is a Fahey Schultz, can't say the other name, roads, best practices for regulating battery energy storage systems online, right here, and I just Googled state of Michigan ordinance for battery storage, and that came up, so that might be somewhere to look before you have a bunch of questions for her, since it's the same.
Yeah, that's our attorney, so I'll check through my emails, and if I have it in there, I'll see if he sent it to me and I'll
Yeah.
forward it on.
Okay, yeah, so there is an article about the battery storage there. I think that's it.
I just wanna add quick about a moratorium for battery storage. If we put one in, it would be okay for us, but they could still go straight to the state at that point and proceed.
Okay, I wasn't sure if
Kind of
that,
why it's a sticky,
I wasn't sure if that works.
I'm so sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Chandler. I'm with the Karst Aquifier Coalition of Monroe County. We're a newer organization, maybe 3 months old. We were formed in response to the dry wells in Whiteford Township, the hundreds of wells that have gone dry mysteriously. We advocate for the taxpayer. We also provide oversight to elected officials, policy makers, lawmakers, and industry. I have some perspective on a lot of these things that I've been listening to tonight, and I'm not here to tell you how to run your township. I'm just here to tell you that we're your friends. We're building an army. The War of 1812, Commodore Perry, Battle of Lake Erie, famous quote. We've met the enemy, and they are ours. Public Act 233 is nothing more than government overreach, in my most humble opinion. So, some of these challenges have a way of circling back to the geology, what's going on under our feet. In Whiteford Township, they're losing water. There's a reason they're losing the water. So, think of it as Swiss cheese under our feet, water traveling quickly in all directions. With that said, we're highly vulnerable to contamination, maybe 100 times more than other regions. Monroe County has been mapped as a karst region. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan is also karst. 20% of the world is karst. I think you have to take a little bit different view of things in karst. In 2013, an oil company came to us in Summerfield Township and said, we're going to put an injection well in your township. What does that mean? Well, we're going to dispose some salty water that's coming out of our oil wells into the ground 1,200 feet. Just putting it back where it came from. My planning chair said, you can't allow that. We're in karst. Well, what does that mean? What is karst? So I worked for Standard Oil, British Petroleum for 25 years, and I knew about injection wells. I didn't know about karst, but I learned. And the state of Michigan said, you can't stop this because our laws supersede local laws. It's mining, and that's covered under energy, and that's covered under our laws. You can't stop us. Really? Well, after knowing the risks, I said, well, here's the deal. You're not going to do that here. So Public Act 233 is similar, where the state has taken control, and they like for townships to make credos, workable ordinances. Can't be too restrictive. We'll give you some money if you go along with it. And if you don't, the state's going to take over and we're going to hammer you in court. Well, we're a little bit different, Summerfield. They got the middle finger on that one too. Good, we'll see you in court. My spin on all of this stuff is, if if you don't stand up and fight, you're gonna get a battery storage facility. If you don't stand up and fight collectively as a community, you're gonna have a data center. That's just the way it's gonna be. And industry has a real slick way about bamboozling you. They might say in the battery storage, like, nah, we have containment and it won't catch on fire and everything else, but what if it does? Or we have a closed loop system in our data center. We have retention ponds, we have all sorts of this, that, and the other. Well, who's checking? The state? That's crazy. No, absolutely not. So you're playing Russian roulette, period. If something was to happen, there was a breach, contamination, how would you ever remediate? You would. And the reality of all this is injection wells, data centers, battery storage, if there was a contamination, it's not only local wells that are polluted, it travels. Your neighbors are gonna get polluted. Worse yet, the lake's gonna get polluted. No more irrigating potatoes, sir. No more farm animals. No more nothing. We're all screwed. So, very high risk, very low reward. Our group is just, I guess, trying to be real about things. And we're a Karst organization. We're not troublemakers. And I didn't come here to tell you how to run your township, but I do have some perspective on all this stuff. And I would recommend highly that somebody gets on the phone tomorrow to Wade Trim in Detroit and ask for Adam, and have Adam come in and clean up your master plan. He'll facilitate all your ordinances, he'll do the public hearings, and your life will be great. Everything will be put together, it'll just be perfect. Wade Trim, Detroit, Adam. And as far as these ordinances are concerned, if you're gonna make a creative or workable ordinance, then that's up to you guys. We faced the same thing at Summerfield, and our attorney convinced the planning commission to make a workable ordinance. That was the right thing to do because of legalities. And the board said, no, we already have a local ordinance that says you can do it, but only in the industrial section. That's what our master plan says. Well, that's not workable apparently because the industrial section is so small. And the board said, oh, it's too bad, that's our ordinance. We're standing on that. Yeah, but the state says they have the power. Well, we'll see about that. I'm not suggesting you guys behave like that. I'm telling you, if you don't fight, you're gonna get it.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. I do have to cut you off though, out of respect, to make sure I'm fair across the board.
If I've offended anybody, you'll never see me. If you wanna know more about what we're doing, we're on Facebook.
Can you write down your contact information
I
just so I can get
thank
it?
you very much. Yes.
I don't wanna be told I'm showing favoritism, ever.
What?
So yes, leave your contact.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Thank you.
Whether I am or not, I'm not offended. I hope I didn't offend anyone.
Nope, we're all trying to figure it out.
Going home, yo. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for
See ya.
coming. Kathy Coppins. John did cover some of the things that I was gonna talk about. Water is a huge issue, so Dundee Village gets their water, Traverse told me, but I also spoke to some people that verified what you said. Dundee Village gets their water from Monroe City. Dundee Township only has wells with a few exceptions. I guess there's some subdivisions, this is all new to me, but, they do give water to, some businesses or homes, subdivisions. So how will the new township businesses that come in, how are they gonna get their water and how much water are they gonna use? Like John was saying, Whiteford, Stunco, dug wells, and now like 100 wells around them have gone dry. It's a very difficult thing to prove that Stoneco caused those wells to go dry, that they didn't. We don't have a lot of aquifer mapping in this area, and it's a very expensive endeavor. But it is something to think about. How much water are we gonna allow these new businesses to get before we pay a lawyer? You know, how much water can we allow? Can we regulate that at all for our new businesses in our ordinance or our master plan? Also, I know that, I don't have my data in front of me, but I think it was Iowa, one of the data centers contaminated the aquifer, and then they went out of business, and they left the town completely on the hook for cleaning up the contamination. So I know that you were talking about the master plan, page 10, the township has the ability to require a bond, how much bond, and it can go up by inflation. But how much is it gonna cost if they contaminate our watershed to clean it up? It's gonna cost a lot. How much bond can we require from them? It's gonna be a lot more than the cost of inflation. And there was a CO2 core sample from Milan that's very close to where the data center is gonna be built. They did that for CO2 storage. And they said, I'm not sure who did the core sample.
Battelle and DTE.
Yeah.
Battelle's like nonprofit, DTE backed them with the grant.
It's very suspicious because there was a layer of limestone and sandstone, and they said, yeah, you can put CO2 storage here. That's dissolvable rock. It's not like granite or basalt, which is a hard rock. It's very dissolvable, and I don't think that it is a viable option for CO2 storage. Just to get ahead, if a business came to us that wanted to do that CO2 storage in our township, we need to also keep that in mind.
Thank you again.
Okay.
You said that.
Sign.
Kathy, didn't Monroe County say that they couldn't have CO2 storage in
Monroe County.
the whole Monroe County when you asked?
Did they?
I believe they did, yes. I think we need to look into that too.
Okay.
You wanted to do it from Piersbury Road west,
Okay.
and then they stopped it all around it.
Probably the county.
Evening, my name is Rachel Ewing. I just have a very quick comment for the planning committee. I think it's very clear that you've all been putting in a lot of time, effort, taking time away from your family, your potato fields to be here and work on these ordinances and regulations to foster a better future for Dundee and the citizens who live here. And I really appreciate that. I would just like to say that I think it'd be really disappointing and a shame for you to take all that work and that effort that you've been putting into the master plan and send it straight back to the planner who has made, I think it's clear, a lot of mistakes in the past. I think it's a great idea for Chairwoman Rogers to go and speak with Lucy and Mannequin Smith and find out what has gone on in the past, but I would really like to see us work with another planner in the future, and I would highly recommend that the planning committee seek out another option. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
I'll take that as a compliment.
Doing great work, don't mess it up.
He's so good. He leases a field next to where I live, and a tile broke, and I had a little sinkhole, and I didn't even know he came and fixed it till I mowed the grass the other day. And I went to my husband, I'm like, oh, thanks, babe, you fixed the tile. He was like, oh, Travis came by. I'm like, whatever. All right, one last call for public comment before we move to board member comments. George, we'll start with you.
I hear the concerns that everyone here, I think everyone in this room has the same concerns. I just hope we can find a way to incorporate them into these ordinances and, do something about it. I mean, the Karst geology is, yeah, it's very, very concerning, but how do we ordinance it out, you know? I mean, how do we?
Check Summerfield's waste ordinance. That's a good reference. Wait,
It's, I was giving to everybody.
should you give it to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
gonna
we-
say, I have them if you don't have them.
Yeah, I kind of question too, like what authority does the township really have? I mean, there's concerns and desires, but how much authority do we have? We may find out. Like, Mr. Chandler said, they did those things in Summerfield, but has it really been tested? It doesn't, it's successful so far, I guess.
They made their ordinance, their waste
Does it
ordinance.
stand
in
up, has it
2015.
stood up in court, has it been tested? I don't know. It sounded good, but, I mean, we can only do what we can do.
George, anything else?
No, that's, no.
Steve?
I don't know, there's a lot to think about, a lot to digest in just a couple months, or actually just a month.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Travis, for the phone call too, by the way. No, there's just, I think taking it one step at a time and I'm a little disappointed in kind of what was said about how the master plan came about in 2025. Sounded like, not a scam job, but it just felt like you got used a little bit. So knowing what actually happened would be, well, what did happen, but then Christie following up on that just to see if there's something underlying there that doesn't feel right, because there's a lot of stuff that could have easily been taken out by someone who doesn't know what's going on, really. So, but no, I think it's set in the right place, and I just, yeah.
I think traditionally the township board, which has evolved after every election, or, you know, it's not the same board it always has been. Traditionally, I think the board has been very conservative and frugal, which I mostly appreciate, but when it came to the master plan, talking about it tonight, now we're paying the price.
Mhm.
So, I mean, to understand, to try to comprehend the history and how we got there, maybe, I don't put a lot of blame on Lucy tonight, and I don't know well enough to defend her, but maybe she did what she was asked to do.
Maybe you don't have it.
I don't know.
That's very true, she could,
After
I
hearing
mean-
what was said, that was the first spot my brain went to is, okay, well, maybe she exactly did what she was asked to do.
I mean, now we're talking about, everybody's thinking about data centers, we need a master plan to support our ordinance, but if you rewind 25 years and look at it from that way, we're just continuing on what we've always done. So we just need to move forward.
Anything else, sir?
No.
Ed?
Well, the state requires that the master plan be looked at by a planner every 5 years. Doesn't say take parts out, put parts in, it says for them to look at it. And that's what was probably done,
It's the cheapest amount.
you know? If it's outdated, she didn't do a thing. But she looked at it, state required. Good, bad, or indifferent. And the township paid too much, excuse me.
oh, you're absolutely correct.
So, you know, I'm frustrated, but such is life. We're frustrated with a lot of things. But we did what the state asked us to do. was right or not.
We'll fix it.
Yep.
It'll be fine. Everything's fine. Anything else, Ed?
No.
Lisa?
Just if you're gonna cover
Yep,
what's going on
yep.
here, then I have nothing else.
Alright, so first, I will talk about Mr. Bill Plum. He gave his resignation last week. So we do have an open spot here on the planning commission, and that will be handled, that's a township thing, is that correct? You guys,
I will either do another, I'm just assuming, we'll either do another committee for interviews, or I might beg to dig in the ones that put it in for the other seats to call back and have a conversation about. I don't know what they're gonna choose, but it'll be addressed here soon.
and I assume as chair, I will be told how that process is gonna work and maybe be a part of that process, or no?
Do you wanna be a part of it? Because I will give you. Yep.
Okay, can we do it in the shop after
Yes.
hours? So yes, I did send him an email thanking him for all of his years. This isn't, I think I can speak that this is something he had thought about for a while. He had put many, many years into it, so we are grateful for the work he did do and wish him the best, and hopefully he can get some more like relaxing time. I do want to take a note, because I did make my notes here, that it sounds like we may have some documentation we have to obtain from people that have left these seats. I will let it be known that in thinking, I made, again, I had mentioned earlier, a email that's township PC for myself to get, because I don't have anything major to hide, but I don't want all of you guys in my personal emails. And with that, I made a Google Docs as well, where I can share things to anybody can look at it with a link. So that way it is, when we get to that point, if there's anything you wanna see, here you go, here it is. So keeping everything there. I know Travis too has a township email if anybody would like to have their own on this board too. I'm sure we can get that set up as well. And I will touch base with how to contact the two to get those documentations, and try to have some kind of response to report out at our next meeting for those that want to know. Other than that, I want to take a second and thank our ad hoc committee. You guys are doing this out of wanting this to be a good township and community like we all do. We all live here, we're all growing families here. Some of the gentlemen on here have grandkids and been around for a long time. I don't plan on going anywhere either, so we do wanna make sure we do this right and the correct way. So thank you for all your time and effort that you put in. I know it's a long day. And to all of my co-board members here. Other than that, I am done. So with that said,
When is your next meeting?
June 17th
June
Huh?
17th.
at 7
That's all right.
So be on the lookout for some more information, and so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Okay, good. Support, motion, support.
Travis and Lisa got it. All right, all those in favor?
I
All those opposed? You can stay here.
Don't ask me where they're kept.